all entrepreneurs doing our own separate businesses. And we got to talking and we were realizing that we were all feeling alone. We were all feeling like we were doing this all by ourselves. Because as an entrepreneur, you're taking risks and you're having challenges that your neighbor and your friends aren't facing. And they get overwhelmed by the fact that you can't just go to your neighbor and say, I don't know if I'm going to make my $50,000 payroll this Friday.
Yeah.
They're going to be, like deer in the headlights. So there's certain things you just can't talk about to anybody.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Coffee Break Podcast, where our mission is to share business ideas, practices, and strategies while we enjoy our cup of coffee that is seemingly getting to the bottom. Thank you for joining us today. Our guest today is Staci Wright, and she is part of a mastermind for female entrepreneurs, and she also has a business that helps to bring products from conception all the way to the marketplace. Very intriguing conversation today. I learned a few catchphrases, a few structures that I've never even heard of before. And we're going to be talking about that through the course of this conversation. Very insightful, I think very helpful when it comes to living in a world of an entrepreneur, things and challenges that you may be facing, but also ways to practically get through them. So this is a really fun conversation. Before we jump into it, though, I do want to invite you to subscribe if you haven't already. We do a brand new episode every Tuesday at 9 a.m., and we don't want you to miss a single one. You can subscribe by visiting Loc-Doc.net/podcast, or you can hit the subscribe button wherever you're listening to this particular episode, or you can follow us on Facebook or YouTube. Just search LOC-DOC and hit the follow or subscribe button. A new episode is coming out every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m., and you'll be in the know. So don't wait for this thing to be posted and somebody to share it to you. You want to be first in line. I mean, that's really what it's all about. So do that, and then grab a cup of coffee and get ready for this conversation.
We got so much to say. We got a podcast to make. We're sipping on lattes, and it's time for a coffee break. It's time for a coffee break. Oh, yeah.
Staci, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
So now we were talking about this when you first jumped on, and I was doing three things simultaneously. Tell me where you're joining us from today.
I am joining you from Bakersfield, California. Oh. I'm at my mom's house. This is not where I live. I live in North Texas, but I'm here for the week spending time with my mom. And we were talking, I just found out this morning she canceled Wi-Fi while I was gone. So I'm piecing it together on my cell phone. Thank goodness I have that hotspot.
Really, Wi-Fi is probably not necessary anymore in life. That's just kind of a thing of the past, I'm pretty sure.
Right.
There's this new thing out now. It's Cat 5 cable, internet cable. Yeah, so that's really kind of the new fad. Just want to let you know about that. Are you a big coffee drinker?
I actually used to be. I used to drink a pot of coffee a day, and then quit doing that. My body just said no more.
No more caffeine.
I reached a certain age. Yeah. So no, I don't do that anymore.
All right. Well, I'm going to drink a cup of coffee for you. So thank you for being here. We do need to jump into rapid fire for 5 randomly selected questions just to get under your skin with unknown point values. And then we will give you a score based off of your answers. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Question number 1. What's a story about breaking the law?
A story about me breaking the law?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness gracious.
You seem like a rebel.
I am a big rebel. My biggest one is I don't stop at stop signs. I just kind of do the California roll on through. My kids call me out on it all the time.
Have you ever gotten a ticket for it?
Yes, I have.
Multiples?
No, just only one.
Okay. I
might need a few more to break the habit, but
I've received 2 of those in my life.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the first one didn't work. Second one,
you still do it?
No, it's been a while. I'm better at it, but I'm also more mindful of vehicles that are sitting around while I'm rolling. Okay. Question number 2. What's an example of when I said that, and I'm going to get a ticket this afternoon for that.
I know. I knocked on wood.
Okay. Question number 2. What's an example of when you had to change your mind or when your mind was changed about something?
Oh, gracious. So many times. being an entrepreneur and running multiple businesses, a lot of times I get my head stuck in one way of doing things and thinking things, and then I'm shown a whole other way. And so I've gotten really good at actually letting my mind change on things like that. But sometimes when I get stuck, and this is just a little something I learned a few years back, when I get stuck in one way of seeing things, and I realize, okay, this way isn't working, I take a step back and say, I'm willing to see this differently, and then let go of it. And then I'm able to see something differently. So recently I changed my mind about something. That's a good one. I think I'm gonna have to pass on that one. Oh. I can't think of a specific thing that I could share on a podcast like this, but I might hurt somebody's feelings if I do.
There was this person that I used to like, and they changed my mind. All right, question number 3: if you could have any person become a member of your family, who would you choose?
I think I would choose Will Smith. He was supposed to be my husband, but he didn't get the memo.
Oh, now this is intriguing. Now we've gone somewhere. All right, break this one down for me.
Oh gosh, no! I was a young girl, and I had a massive crush on him, and I always knew he was going to be my husband. And then he married Jada, and I was like, well, why?
That always happens. It always happens.
And now I just want to tell him, see, you should have listened to the universal message.
If he would have married you, he wouldn't have ended up slapping Chris Rock. I mean, it would have been a whole different situation.
Right? Exactly. That's exactly right.
So, okay, this doesn't include the 5 questions, but did you read his book?
I did not.
You had a big crush on Will Smith, and you haven't read his book?
Honestly, I didn't even know he wrote a book.
Man, okay. Well, okay. There's my book recommendation for you. You've got to check it out. It's only been out for about a year or something like that. It's really good.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I kind of gave up on him a while back.
Well, I mean, I can understand that. Just kind of wiped him out of your mind.
Yeah, to move on with my life.
All right. Question number 4. What is the most recent life lesson that you learned?
Most recent. Oh, I've learned that I don't know everything about everything. It kind of goes back to the second question. The way I see things isn't always right. And sometimes I have a tendency to, because I can see a lot of things. I do have discernment and wisdom and all of those things, but I can get stuck in a way of seeing things that's not beneficial. And there are multiple ways of seeing that. So taking a step back, when I'm getting frustrated or upset, realizing there's another way to see things.
Gotcha. All right. Question number 5, and this is probably the most important one. What would be the best and worst part of being a cat, in your opinion?
Oh, goodness. The best part of being a cat is just being independent and being able to do whatever you want. That's kind of the cat's mentality. The worst thing would be probably having to go to the bathroom in a litter box.
Yeah. Or the worst part could be that nobody likes cats. Cats are just horrible. So that could be.
I like cats. I'm just allergic to them, so I can't have one. But cats are actually my preference between a dog and a cat because they are so independent.
All right. Well, I won't hold that against you. All right. Congratulations. You made it through rapid fire. We'll give you a score of 532.
Okay, good. Thank you.
All right.
I will say that was because when I knew I was going to be on your podcast, I listened to several of your podcasts, which I love, by the way.
Thank you.
I've learned a lot of really cool things. But that was the one thing that when I heard about the rapid fire questions, it kind of freaked me out a little bit.
Well, I'm glad.
And so I've been practicing, and so that was a scary thing. I'm a recovering perfectionist. So I always want to think things through before I articulate them out to the world.
Yeah.
So it's just so funny that this is something that I've been doing away with. I've been working on my perfectionism. So this is a perfect opportunity for me to work on that. So I appreciate that.
Well, I'm glad that we could offer a service for you. That's just what we do here on the Coffee Break Podcast is we offer room for growth in many different ways. No, it's fun. It's one of the reasons that we started doing it a long time ago was a lot of people thrive in that just off the cuff type of conversation, but I've found it almost more beneficial to folks that are a little more rigid because it kind of breaks the ice a little bit and makes a little bit more comfortable conversation down the line. So thank you very much for participating. I've not had anybody turn me down on rapid fire yet, but I'm glad that you did your research as well.
I didn't know that was an option.
Make sure we delete that off of this podcast so that nobody thinks that they can do that, because that would just turn out to be awkward.
Right.
All right, well, let's jump into it. So we're going to be talking a little bit about entrepreneurialism. We're going to be talking a little bit about masterminds and kind of all things associated with just kind of being in business, right? So one of the things that we talk about on this podcast is business ideas, practices, and strategies. And a lot of times it applies in some real specific strategies. I can implement this. We've talked about conflict resolution. We've talked about a lot of different things as it pertains to business. When it comes to masterminds, like this is a kind of a passion of mine as well, because you can get a lot of people in a room or a virtual room, and somebody's got a problem, and you get to collectively pull together and work through it. So I want to go down that path, but before we kind of jump into that, I really want to understand because I understand kind of a motivation that I would join something like that, or I would get involved with something like that. But I want to understand your kind of motivation or inspiration of why you would want to corral a bunch of entrepreneurs together that are trying to figure things out and try to work through those types of things. So what was your inspiration for starting a masterminds group?
I am so glad you asked that. It was very organic and it was very natural that it even started. And it started with me and 3 of my friends about 5 years ago. And we were all entrepreneurs doing our own separate businesses. And we got to talking and we were realizing that we were all feeling alone. We were all feeling like we were doing this all by ourselves. Because as an entrepreneur, you're taking risks and you're having challenges that your neighbor and your friends aren't facing. And they get overwhelmed by the fact that you can't just go to your neighbor and say, I don't know if I'm going to make my $50,000 payroll this Friday.
Yeah.
They're going to be, like deer in the headlights. So there's certain things you just can't talk about to anybody. And we started having this kind of collective conversation that, hey, why don't we just get together and talk to each other? Like we can talk to each other about this stuff. And so we got together at my house. I said, hey, everybody come to my house. We did it once a month. And I said, let's do it like a mastermind. So we'll all sit around the table and everybody gets equal time of the group's time. And we'll just talk about our businesses. So we did that. And it was just 4 of us. And we spent a year together doing that once a month. And so we would each get an hour of time. We'd spend the whole afternoon together. And then at the end of it, we'd break open the wine and the charcuterie board and have a good time. But we each got a set amount of time from the group. And so it was like having 4 entrepreneurs working on one person's business every month. And it was great. And what we found at the end of the year, after we did this for a year, each one of us was a completely different person. We had more confidence. Our businesses looked like we could never imagine that they could look. We overcame limiting beliefs that we didn't even know existed in our minds. And the most beautiful thing was we knew who we were on a much deeper level. Because we are who we are and we don't know who we are. We're doing what we do, what we're inspired to do, but being with other people and having them reflect back, wait a minute, I heard you say this and now you're saying this. So something's not aligned. It helps you really get down in there and say, okay, what's going on? Where is that misalignment? And then also knowing that I have a strength where you have a weakness. We know where our strengths are until we're around other people. And then hearing what this person's struggling with and I have an answer for it. It's like, oh, I'm good at this. It's natural for me to be good at that. And then I could really just pour that in with confidence into my business. And so it changed all of us completely after a year. And I am always one thinking of how can I make this better for the world? How can I help other people? And I said, I want to do this for more female entrepreneurs. Like, I want to know if we can do this with more. So the next year we added another member. So we did 5, same situation. And then the following year we made it 12. So I actually invited 12 people in and we grew it. And every single person was completely changed at the end of the year of being together. So at that point, I just got a fire lit inside of me that I wanted to help other female entrepreneurs have the confidence and be empowered to do what they want to do.
We understand the frustrations HOA board members and property managers face when deciding the best solution for their HOA and pool security. Should we use a keypad, hand out keys, or install a key card system? Do we even need cameras? These are some of the questions that are difficult to navigate, and we're here to help. At Loc-Doc Security, we've spent over 20 years working with homeowners associations and property managers to find the system that best fits the pool and HOA needs. Camera systems for the front gate or front entrance, key card systems for the pool gates, or simply updating the gate so that it meets safety and code compliance. We like to take the guesswork out of the process to answer any questions and help find the right solution. Our mission is to help you protect your people and your property, and that includes pools. Contact our team today to schedule your free consultation for your community. I've heard of a lot of different mastermind type groups where there might be based off of the same type of industry, or maybe they're industry exclusive where you only have one person from each industry. Then you have some that are different size businesses. So you've gone more of the focusing on supporting female entrepreneurs.
Yes, that's exactly correct.
It's intriguing to me because, mastermind groups as a whole, or, peer groups, however you want to kind of classify it, or call it, because I've heard it used a lot of different ways. But the value that you just painted is huge, because I think a lot of times, and there's probably people that are listening to this right now that are going, there's a lot of times that I'm sitting at home or sitting in my office stressed about something that I don't feel like I can talk to a lot of people about. Maybe I'm not I don't have business partners. Maybe there's a smaller group of an organization, and I don't really go out and talk to the company about these fears or these challenges or these stress points that I have. And then I think one of the things that is intriguing to me is over time, when somebody does that for a period of time, they start to maybe look at other people and going, well, they don't look like they have that stress. They don't look like they have that problem. They look like they have it all together. Maybe it's just me. And from that perspective, I think at times you see people start to try to morph into making themselves fit into a box that somebody else has proposed. Do you see that to be the case? And if so, what is it? Like, how do you work with people to be more mindful of that? Because it seems like you're just trying to fit yourself into somebody else's world.
Yes. And that's a good point, because a lot of masterminds, what I'm seeing called a mastermind out there is a coach saying, here, I'll show you how to do it. And this is how you do a business. And this is how you make things happen. But for me, the mastermind is truly about individuation. It's about helping each individual be who they are, not through a theory or through a practice, but through living every day and living and working in their business and learning new things about themselves. So I want to keep this on topic and not go off the rails. But for me, the focus really, truly is each individual has something unique to bring to the world, and especially entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs create the world that we live in, and the world that we live in is not going really well. So how can we as entrepreneurs create a new world when we're all trying to fit in a box of how we're supposed to be doing business? Mm-hmm. I'm saying, let's do business a whole different way, and let's do it the way that you're inspired to do it. And I'll give you a perfect example of this. And this is why I love working with entrepreneurs and women specifically. There's actually a couple examples that I have, but one is a friend of mine who has a company, has a business, and she has employees, and she has a husband and a kid. Now she has 2 kids, but a couple years ago, she just had 1 kid and a husband and a business. And she was finding that working 40 hours a week wasn't giving her enough time at home to do the things she wanted to do for her family and her personal self, take care of herself. Mm-hmm. And so she started questioning, why are we working 40 hours a week? I don't like working 40 hours a week. It doesn't allow me to have the balance and the harmony that I want in my life. And so her very next thought was, wait a minute, if I'm having this problem, I have some employees that are single moms. Mm-hmm. I bet they're having this problem times 10. So we got to do something different. Maybe we could do something different. And so she went to her team, her employees, and said, hey, y'all, do you want to work less hours? Like, do you need more time with your family? And they all said, yes, absolutely. That would be great. And she said, okay, here's the thing. We have to be sustainable as a business. We have to grow as a business. If we can figure out how to do that in 30 hours a week, I'll pay you for 40 hours a week and we'll cut our work time down. And so they all put their head in, they all put their ideas in, they all work together to come up with a plan to work 30 hours a week, but be just as productive so that they could work less hours. And within 6 months, they had a plan. They were all working 30 hours a week, getting just as much work done. Now, she was on a growth trajectory that was pretty steep. And she thought, when they start working less, she expected it to flatten out a little bit. She was going to make sure it was still growing, but she was going to give herself some grace to not grow as fast. But what she found after a year of doing this, that her business, the growth did not change. The trajectory of growth in her business did not change one bit. And so she actually changed all of her employees' lives by doing business differently. And it was because she had an inspiration. Now, if she was listening to the how you're supposed to do business, she may have never done that. I mean, I had a boss that didn't want to work 40 hours a week when I was in my 20s. And guess what? He didn't work 40 hours a week, but we all did, right? So doing things different, the world needs us to do things different. The world needs the entrepreneurs to be doing things that have never been done before and doing things in a way that's never been done before. So how can we help each other do that? And that's part of the beauty of the mastermind that we have is it encourages each individual to bring those inspirations to the forefront and to make them happen. So hopefully that answers the question.
No, it does. It seems to me it's more like helping people to become comfortable in their own skin. So you're working through, as a group, coming together, sharing ideas, challenges, opportunities, all those things. But if you're reserved to bring some concern to the table because you feel like you have to be in this particular box, it could be a limiter, right? And so understanding how to be comfortable in your own skin, things that are comfortable for me, things that I feel are my strengths may not be somebody else's. But if I've got to dial that back because I don't want to feel overwhelming to somebody else in that area or whatever, like it's finding, I guess, a group of people that you can feel comfortable in and be very, transparent, be kind of just yourself in those conversations seems like that's going to lend the most to the conversation.
100%. And that is one of the core tenets of the mastermind is vulnerability and authenticity. I can tell you it was a distinct difference. Every single person in all of the groups that we've had has had a month where they came to the group and cried and just fell apart. And every single time when they came back the next month, they were a completely different person. But it was because they felt safe and comfortable to be truly authentic and to let down all the walls and just come in raw and then get loved on by a group of women that then the very next month they were completely transformed and completely a different person. So for me, vulnerability and authenticity in a safe environment is where we find out who we truly are and how we can bring that out to the world to shine.
It's maybe to shift gears a little bit. Maybe a year plus ago, we had a podcast where we talked about the benefits, and it was really kind of focused around exercise and running as a whole. But the fact that when you're running together with a group of people, you have the propensity to run farther or faster together because you have like-minded people trying to accomplish something. It's going to push you when you kind of get a little weak. It's going to pull you. It's going to energize you. It's going to motivate you. Like there's a lot of this culminating factor when you bring these people together for a common goal, and it will typically allow you to stretch yourself a little more than if you were just to do it yourself, where you might get yourself discouraged or you might quit on yourself a little faster. When you are in the realm of kind of this mastermind group, now you're talking more about these areas that may be detrimental, these challenges that may be detrimental independently. Now you are bringing those to a group of people that are going to go further together. They're going to be able to pour into those challenges. It is interesting you said at the very beginning that you had done this with a group of 3 other folks for the course of a year, and you made so much progress together that it continued to multiply. So my question, I guess, is what is the big motivation for you to help people? Because you said that you're not a coach. You said that earlier in the conversation, but helping people to get from point A to point B or from point A to point Z, to continue to create and help people go find their own path to get to the end. Where does that come from for you?
That is a big question. I see the world that we live in and the trajectory we're on is terrifying. And if we want to, I want my kids and my grandkids to have a better world to live in. And if we're going to do that, we have to do things differently. And for me, entrepreneurs, like I said, we're creating the society we live in. So I want to help, and I believe the evolution is happening. The evolution of humanity is happening. I believe there's a shift coming, and we are changing gears, and we are switching focus on how we do business and how we interact with each other. And so when we're bringing those new ideas and those new ways of doing things to the world, it's hard. It's not easy to do that because we're doing things that are so different that nobody's ever done before. So that's my motivation, is to make the world a better place. And I believe that we can create a new world, and our entrepreneurs are a big part of that. I also am an entrepreneur myself who has businesses that are making positive social impact in the world, and that we're doing things a lot differently than we've ever done before. So that's where I'm coming from, is like, we need all the entrepreneurs of the world to stand in who they truly, truly are and to bring their inspirations to life, because the inspiration is coming for us to create something new. We have to be able to listen to it, and then we have to be able to execute it. And so helping people do that is very inspiring to me, and I want to bring that.
Can you copy this key? That's a question we get asked about 3,422 times a year. And how can you actually be sure that the person who asked that question is supposed to get a copy of that key? Well, we think you should always know who can copy your keys to your business and your home, because it could be your neighbor, an old employee, a contractor, or even worse, your mother-in-law. At Loc-Doc Security, we believe in protected key systems, so you always know who has a copy of your key. To find out more, visit locdoc.net or stop by our Charlotte location. Loc-Doc Security, helping you protect your people and your property.
So, Staci, your main business is not a mastermind group, though. You started a mastermind group because you had a business that you were looking to help to try to, I'm sure, navigate its own challenges. So, what is the business that was happening that helped to drive the start of the mastermind group?
Well, okay, that's a whole nother story. Because when we started this, my business was actually falling apart. So this was a stage of my life where I was being cleared, like a big clearing, where my business was falling apart. My life was falling apart. I had a business where we were the world's first and only welding helmet with 180-degree lens design, sold it to multiple retailers across the United States and 37 other countries, grew it to $5 million, and then we got hit with a lawsuit.
Oh.
Literally, and that lawsuit wiped me out. But it took a decade to do it. It was a long, painful process. And it was not just the business. I lost my marriage. There was a lot of falling apart, a lot of come apart during that time. So when we started the mastermind, it was more about that whole process. So things were coming apart. But what was interesting in being a part of the mastermind and really learning who I was, I read a book called The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. And it was a book about this gentleman who just decided at a very early age that he was just going to surrender to life and see what life brought him and not force anything to happen, just go with the flow. And he was an entrepreneur, and he had several businesses over the course of his life, very successful businesses. And so at that point in my life, it resonated with my soul. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to try my own surrender experiment. So I decided I was going to surrender. And then I was introduced to human design, which is a system of wisdom about who we are as individuals. And it gives you a kind of a blueprint of how you're designed to make decisions in life. And so I said, okay, I've got my human design experiment where this is how I'm supposed to respond to life. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to respond to life. I'm going to surrender, and I'm going to see what life brings me. And I set one intention. And so I had this one intention, and I said, okay, life, what are you going to bring me? And my one intention was what was it? Goodness gracious, it's been a while. To make a powerful and sustainable change in the world using my unique set of skills. And honestly, I didn't even know what my unique set of skills were. I've been an entrepreneur, so I'm just kind of that crazy person that does whatever I'm inspired to do. And so I thought, well, I want to use my skills to change the world in a powerful and sustainable way. Well, the things that started happening in that surrender, people started coming into my life. Ideas started coming in. I started having these different conversations with different people. And all of a sudden, this business formed literally out of nothing. It was literally me just following what was lighting me up. So I would have somebody talk to me about something, and I would feel that, lit up in my gut. And I was like, ooh, I want to follow that. So I would follow it. And just one step at a time, things fell into place. So I kind of want to go off the rails on this. I don't know if you want me to.
Go off the rails. We don't have any rails in this podcast, so you can go wherever you want.
Okay, we're going to go wherever it leads. So I'm going to give you an example because it kind of feels funny to say, oh, surrender and experiment, and it's kind of airy-fairy. So I'm going to give you some practical examples of what happened along this path.
I like it.
So in 2019, I guess it was, I got invited to join this entrepreneurs club. It was a national club, and it was a $10,000 membership fee. And I was at the end of my business was falling apart, where I did not have a sustainable income. I didn't have plans for my new business. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was in this very open, I'm going to see what life brings me phase. But I was very lit up about joining this group. My gut was saying yes. My mind was saying, hell no, don't do that. That's stupid. You can't spend $10,000 on something when you don't have an income. You don't even know what you're doing. Why would you do that? But the experiment, and this is the experiment part, because the experiment with human design is I'm supposed to do what lights me up, what my gut says to do. So I thought, I'm going to try this. I'm going to go with it. So I wrote the check for $10,000, showed up to a meeting in North Dakota, had a great time. It was fun, came home. A couple months later, went to New York for a meeting, came home. And then after that, that was it. I didn't want to go to any more meetings. And I had joined for a year. So of course, my gut was saying, don't spend the time or the money to go to these trips. And my head was saying, but you paid $10,000. You need to get your money's worth. But I was on this surrender and I was on this experiment. So I stopped going to the meetings and thought, okay, well, I met some great people. I don't know what this is supposed to be. I don't know what's supposed to happen with that, but I just moved on. Well, one of the girls that's in the mastermind, we started talking, and she said she wanted to start a product-based business. And I said, well, I know how to do a product-based business. And every time I talked to her about business, every time we talked about this, I got really lit up inside. And one day we started talking about maybe being a partner, maybe starting a company. Now my head said, hell no, you've had partnerships before and they don't work out. You do not want to be a partner. You don't even know this person. Like, you know her a little bit. You don't know her a lot. There's a whole lot of things that could go wrong, my mind was saying, but my gut was super lit up and I was so excited about it. So I thought, I'm following this experiment. I'm following the surrender. Let's see where this goes. And so we started a business, and we started a business called IP2Market. And the idea was to take inventions, ideas for new products, and take it through the whole patenting, engineering, designing, manufacturing, sales, and distribution. And she's real good at design, product design, and making things look really good, and marketing and sales. And I'm really good at the functional, the operations and making that happen. So we set out to do this, and we thought, well, we need a patent attorney because, right, we're going to be writing patents, and that's the most expensive upfront cost, engineering and patenting. So we need a patent attorney, and it would be nice to have one that's a partner. Well, all of a sudden it dawned on me that the very first person I sat next to in the North Dakota meeting was a patent attorney who was an entrepreneur.
Naturally.
So I called him up and I said, hey, you want to be a part of this business? And he said, yeah, that sounds great. So he joined the business. And so now we had a business and a patent attorney that was a part of the business. So then, but we still had no products to make. We're still, this is still just a business, and I'm just following the path. Mm-hmm. But it's not been linear. So that's one part. One lesson I learned about this is it doesn't have to be linear. So then I'm talking to my other friend who was also in the mastermind, and I'm telling her, I'm so excited. I'm like, I've got this business and this is what we're doing. We're going to make products. And she said, well, what products are you going to make? And I said, I have no idea. And she said, well, I've got one for you. And I said, okay, what do you got? And she says, well, I can never take a big girl bath. And I said, what do you mean you can't take a big girl bath? She said, when I'm sipping my wine and I'm reading my book, I'm drowning because my feet don't reach the end of the tub. And I thought, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm, that could be.
You can't relax in the bathtub because you can't sit yourself up. And I said, there's nothing out on the market to do that. She said, no, there's not. So we did some research. Sure enough, there's nothing out there. So we created the world's first and only bathtub footrest. It's like a platform. It's like a wooden platform, and it's got straps on the sides, and it has suction cups, so you can put it wherever you want it in your tub, and it allows you to have a nice, relaxing bath. So we filed for a patent on that. We've manufactured that, and that's gone to market. Then the very next, we launched it in November. This is just November of last year. In January, I get an email from a guy who has a special sales and marketing program where they invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in new patented products to market and sell them. And they found our product and they want to do a partnership with us and invest hundreds of thousands of dollars to build this brand to make this they see the potential. So now we're moving so literally this company, IP2Market, I had no idea what it was for or what it would be. I was just following what was lighting me up one day to the next. And over the course of 2-3 years, it has turned into an amazing company. So now we're on our second and third products that we're coming out with because other people have ideas too. So what we did with the original idea, we just pay her a 2% royalty fee. Mm-hmm. And so then she's having wine with a friend and they're just having a conversation. And this friend brings up, man, I hate the way orthodontic wax comes in this little box and you have to touch all of it. And I'm a germaphobe. I'm putting all my germs on this wax that then goes into my mouth. Somebody needs to create something that dispenses the wax in a clean way, kind of like a Pez dispenser for wax. And my friend said, well, I have somebody that could do that. And she says, really? So she connected us. And so now our second product is Pocket Ortho Wax. Think about like a chapstick dispenser for wax, orthodontics wax. So you put the wax in it and you twist it and it comes, just a little piece comes up and you pick it off and you put it on your mouth. So file for a patent on that one. She gets her 2% royalty. We're moving forward with that one. And the third product, and I'll just, since we're going off the rails,
sure.
Tell you what. So the first product is a bathtub footrest. So we made the prototype and I took it to my friend's house and I showed it to her and I'm putting it in her tub. Well, her 3-year-old son jumps in the tub and he says, oh, a table for the bathtub. He saw it as a table. And we both looked at each other and we thought, well, that's a great idea. There's no tables out there for toddlers. And so we turned it sideways. So it became a platform. Mm-hmm. And he got his dinosaurs out and he got his trucks out and he started playing on it like a table. And so in the fourth quarter, we're launching the Tubby Table, which is a table for toddlers, a bathtub table for toddlers.
Now that,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that one makes a significant amount of sense to me because I have a 5-year-old and I can see that to be very practical because right now it's whatever goes into the bathtub, it's just a dead zone, right? So having a table to play on, that would be incredible.
Yeah. So that's our product coming out at the end of this year. So we've got 4 brands, 3 products, and things are rocking like you wouldn't believe. I mean, things just come together. So what I've learned in that whole process is that life is not what we've been taught.
Come on now.
And the way we create as entrepreneurs is not the way we've been taught. We don't have to do it the hard way. We can do it. There's a much easier way to do this. And I found it because I had the fortunate experience of losing everything.
Sure.
And just saying, okay, I have nothing left to lose. I'm going to surrender. Show me a new way. Show me life. Show me a new way to do this. And I've been shown. And it's a way of great ease and of power. And it's fun. And so that is really what I want to give to others. I want other entrepreneurs to have this experience too, because when we're all having this experience, our world is a whole different place.
So it's interesting. I've pulled out a couple of things, and some of them are good, and some of them are maybe less good. That's really a horrible way to say that. But one, I've learned that when your gut is lit up, it's not necessarily a bad thing. So that's pretty cool, because I've always probably heard it the opposite direction. I now have a definition for a big girl bath. Was not quite sure where that was going, but I'm following with you. I have no idea what orthodontics wax is, but I'm going to do some Googling on it because I've never seen it before. And the bathtub table is a great idea. But the other thing that really stood out to me in all of those conversations is they all happened through organic conversation based off of building community. So you flew to North Dakota. So you weren't sitting on a Zoom conference and happened to randomly see some square over there that you would have asked if he was a patent attorney. You're sitting next to somebody having a conversation. The idea for a big girl bath came through a random conversation that you were having with folks. Same thing with the orthodontics wax. That was a secondary conversation. And then the other one was seeing the product in action. The interaction with people, the community, that is really an intriguing component of this. Is not only have you decided to kind of let some intuition go and to be able to kind of follow some instinctual understanding, but also it happens through organic conversation of just being attuned to the environment that you're with and listening to people and having an open dialogue rather than just saying, well, this is what we have and this is what you're going to do. Instead of telling the little kid, hey, no, that's not how that footrest works. It's, oh, well, it can be used a different way now with these modifications. Now we have a new product.
Yes. And I'm so glad you're bringing that up. Thank you for bringing that piece out. That is such an important piece. And before we started this whole mastermind event, I was a staunchly independent person. I don't need anybody else. I'm going to do this on my own, which is a trauma response for those that are out there saying, I can do it all on my own. We can't do it all on. Yes, you can do it all on your own, but it's a lot harder.
Come on, preach.
A lot harder. When we come together in community and in relationships, life becomes a lot more easy, I guess, or easier. The independent thing is just it's not where it's at. And you think about it, and if we go back to the world in which we live in a world that's very disconnected, that encourages disconnection. And we're seeing mental illness and addiction skyrocket. I could go off the rails on that.
Yeah, that one may need to be a whole nother podcast, but I'm with you on that. Staci, I want to be intentional about our time. Oftentimes people say that I use the term mindful of our time, but I'm going to say I'm going to be intentional with our time today, just to throw a little curve in it. I've got a lot of takeaways here. I appreciate your time today and the thoughts that you have here. Some interesting ways to go about utilizing the mastermind, utilizing that group of people. I can attest to this as a whole. One of the most valuable text strings that I have on my phone is with a group of other business owners in our industry. And it is a place that we can communicate, ask questions transparently, navigate obstacles and really make better decisions because you have people to bounce those ideas off that you typically wouldn't have that opportunity. So I can definitely attest to that. And having a formalized version of it would be huge. If somebody wants to find out more about this, somebody's listening or watching to this and says, hey, I want to find out more about all of these things. Either I've got a great product that I want to suggest, because that's one of the things I was sitting here thinking about. There's got to be something here that we can figure out. But anyways, in the meantime, if there's something that they have from that perspective, or if they're interested in the masterminds, how would they get in contact with you?
They can email me, or they can find me on Facebook. Facebook's probably the easiest way, and it's Staci Renee Wright, or they can email me at Staci and it's Staci STACI at CEOessentials.net.
Staci with an I. Thank you very much for your time today. It was a blast to chat with you. Hey, Staci, thanks again for the conversation today. It was such a blast. For more information, you can follow the links in the descriptions below. You'll find the show notes. And of course, you can subscribe and follow all of our episodes at Loc-Doc.net/podcast. Thank you for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you next time right here on the Coffee Break Podcast.